On Twitter, Nate Silver says these are the Twitter X accounts with the most engagement so far in 2026. One takeaway is that there's a lot of red, right-leaning accounts. Another takeaway is that if you look at the biggest accounts by impression, if you're familiar with these accounts, Gunther Eagleman, Eric Dougherty, Libs of TikTok, or Elon Musk, they post a lot of what's basically drivel. There are problems with the graphic also. For example, Jackson Hinkle is labeled here as right-leaning. Hinkle is someone who has described himself as a MAGA communist. So red might not be exactly the right color for a communist, but maybe there is some MAGA or some Trump-supporting leaning there. I don't know. But it might cause you to wonder about the accuracy or integrity of this data. Al Jazeera is listed as neutral. Is that the right color? Hassan Piker, a left-leaning account, says he couldn't find himself on the list, even though he has 30.1 million engagements. When Nate Silver was asked about these discrepancies with the data, he says, "It's not my data, the source is Cluvo." Here is Cluvio. We can see Hassan Piker is just not on this list, even though by engagements, he should be 12th. Maybe engagements means something different between Hassan's metric and Cluvio. Cluvio's source is something called Junkipedia. In their API documentation, they define engagement as, in the context of social media platforms, engagement is blank. So I guess we don't know what engagement means. Nikita Beer, who's the head of product at X, says that the data isn't accurate. It's missing half of the network. So we've got missing people, some classifications are wrong. We don't really know what an engagement is, but if an engagement is something like a view, Elon Musk will get 10 or 15 million views per post, and he posts thousands of times. It's hard to believe he only has 251 engagements in 2026. So the data is questionable at best, and therefore any conclusions you draw from it, you should be a little skeptical of those conclusions. But at the same time, notice that Nate Silver's post has 14 million views, and he has multiple posts about this, debating this, replying to people about this, that have 1 million plus views as well. The point I'm trying to make is that Nate's point, is that the people getting the most views are these engagement farming slop accounts posting unreliable stuff. But Nate's data is unreliable, and Nate gets a lot of views posting the unreliable data. My point is that by being wrong, Nate is kind of proving his own point. By being unreliable outrage bait, Nate is getting a lot of views, and that's the thing he's complaining about. I've seen several people say stuff like this. I don't know where you get your data, Nate. Matt Walsh has a big audience. He's saying this to hundreds of thousands of people. Not sure where you get your data. It says it, Cluvio, in the article that Nate Silver's posting. I don't know exactly where I'm going with this. It's just like a fractal of, at every level, people don't really know what they're talking about, and they're getting a lot of views. Where'd you get your data, Nate? And Nate is getting a lot of views posting problematic data from Cluvio. And Cluvio's data isn't really defined. What is an engagement? And it all gets a lot of attention, which I think helps to prove the thesis that there's a problem with questionable reliability on Twitter driving engagement. Thanks for your time.